Hi guys, today we're starting our new unit on genetics, which is the study of genes and how you get those genes. This video is going to focus on DNA and its structure and its job. So here you can see a picture of DNA. You can see it looks kind of like a twisted ladder. We're going to learn what these different parts of DNA are in the next couple of minutes. So first of all, DNA is an acronym. It stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, so DNA. It carries your genes, and your genes are the directions for making all the proteins that are in your body. Your proteins are responsible for doing all the work of your cells, from breaking things down to making new things. DNA is found in the nucleus of your cells, just like we talked about in the last unit. It's also found in the nucleus of plant cells and in protists. Something to remember is that prokaryotic cells don't have a nucleus, so the DNA is just floating around in the cytoplasm of those cells. DNA is made up of units called nucleotides, and there's 3 parts to a nucleotide: a phosphate molecule, deoxyribose, which is a sugar, and a nitrogenous base. There are 4 different nitrogenous bases. They're A, T, C, and G. Those are the first letter of the words, their names, and I'll tell you about those in just a second. But these are the units that make up the ladder of DNA. So the DNA molecule is a double helix, which is 2 strands twisted around. The science term for the shape is double helix, not twisted ladder. You can see in this image that the bases that were on the last slide are located in the rungs of the ladder. So once again, here's a nucleotide, and of course this base could be A, T, C, or G. Here's a little bit more about nitrogenous bases. They carry the information. So the order of the letters, the order of the bases, is what determines your genes. So the order of bases in my DNA is a little bit different than the order of bases in everyone else's DNA. Their names are adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. These red arrows are showing that the A and the T always pair with each other, and the C and the G always pair with each other. If the letters are paired wrong, that's called a mutation, which could be a very dangerous sort of deal. It could lead to cancer. And the order of the bases is what determines what proteins are going to get made. So that's why it's super important that the order is correct. The edges of the ladder are called the backbone. So these thicker parts here are the backbone. They're made up of the sugar and phosphate molecules of the DNA, and they're held together. They're very strong. They're held together super tightly. The rungs of the ladder are the bases, and they're held together less tightly because the DNA molecule, when it replicates, gets unzipped down the middle and then put back together. So it has to be pretty easy for the cell to separate those edges to make a new copy. Here's just a picture of the 3D image twisted up in a double helix, and then the 2D image of what it would look like if the DNA was flattened out. So the round shapes are the phosphates, and the pentagons are sugars, and then of course the nitrogenous bases are here in the middle. You can see that one nucleotide is the base, the sugar, and the phosphate. 3 really important words for what we're about to talk about next week, which is how cells reproduce themselves, are DNA, chromatin, and chromosome. These are all ways that DNA can organize itself. So what you have here is DNA. This is the smallest, what it looks like, double helix. What DNA does, because there's so much in your cells, is it coils up into chromatin, and it coils around proteins. So this is still DNA, but just a more organized, more tightly wound structure. And then what happens is chromatin condenses even more into chromosomes, which is the shape that the DNA makes when it's going to replicate into a new cell. You have 46 chromosomes in each of your cells, one from your mom and one from your dad. So your mom gave you 23 and your dad gave you 23. All humans have 46 chromosomes unless they have a genetic chromosomal disorder, which we'll talk about later on. One thing that's a part of a chromosome is each side is called a chromatid, and they're actually called sister chromatids because they're exact copies of each other. So DNA is the smallest. DNA coils into chromatin. Chromatin coils into chromosomes, and chromosomes are made of 2 chromatids. All right, that's it for next time. Next week, we're going to talk about how cells replicate themselves. Bye.